Hey y'all, welcome back to the podcast. We just completed several episodes of dating and relationships, but more so we focused on breakups. And, we started off this season with divorce. And then we led into 3 back-to-back episodes that were heavily focused on breakups. So this episode, I wanted to focus on dating well and what that looks like, and what you should do, tips. And I will put a disclaimer out there. I'm no expert at all, but I have a really great marriage, and my husband and I love each other, and a lot of that had to do with the foundation that we made in terms of when it came to dating. So let's just talk about what it means to date well. What does that mean? So in essence, it means just a journey of self-discovery, growth, building healthy connections. It involves a lot of mindful and intentional choices and actions. It's about fostering genuine connections with others while staying true to your values, morals, and needs. And that's a lot of words just saying, dating well means that you're intentional. Dating well means that you aren't just going around to, I don't want to say shack up because that's not dating either, but you're just not going around to date to fill a void or to find someone to fill a void. So dating well, first of all, let's just make this very clear, isn't to fill a need, to fill a void, to gain security, to gain confidence. That's not dating well. Dating well is you already secure in who you are, and it's a journey that you're willing to take on with someone else, and you're staying true to yourself, true to your values, true to who you are, and what that means. So with dating well, the first thing I wanted to touch on is dating apps. So in this era that we live in, a lot of you who listen or who are listening, whether you're in high school, college, or you're out of college or working, but you're single, you might be using a dating app. Now, disclaimer, I have never used a dating app in my life. I don't think my husband has. I probably need to check on that. But never used a dating app. So there's just very little I can touch on this, but I did want to touch on it because this is the day and age that we live in. There are so many people around, and in churches, there might not be someone that's compatible for you if that's the area that you were looking previously for someone to date. In your workplace, there might not be anyone that's compatible to you. So again, you can't really date there. In your community of friends, same issue. So dating apps have been a resort for many people. But in that, you have to be mindful to avoid falling into the trap of, the shallow connections and the instant gratifications and the swipe right or swipe left. I don't really know what you do on dating apps, but avoid that temptation, because it's easy to become focused on quantity, the amount of people that swipe on you, versus the quality of person that initiated the swipe. Or I probably should have done more research on what it means to use dating apps. But you have to look for compatibility beyond surface level attraction. And granted, attraction is important. My husband is a big advocate of that. One of the biggest things he hates is, especially in the Christian community, we like to emphasize, it's not all physical. But let's be honest, you're going to be living with this person for the rest of your life. You have to be attracted to them. Yes, they're going to get old. Yes, they're going to wrinkle, and they'll go through their stages of age, but you have to be attracted to someone. But that shouldn't be the sole focus as to why you're dating them. That you compromise everything else, you compromise your beliefs, morals, and your wants because he's a hot guy or she's really hot. That shouldn't be it. And then for those who aren't using dating apps, who aren't using social media as a means to find a significant other, if it's in the church, if it's in your workplace, if it's in your social gatherings or whatever, the rule still applies there. Don't allow just the simple attraction to develop a shallow relationship. I promise you, it's not going to last. It's probably gonna end up very ugly eventually, because at some point you will lose attraction, they will lose attraction, and if all you have, the foundation of that relationship, was attraction and there was no substance, then it's pretty much a waste of time. You and that person, you're just wasting each other's time. Something I also wanted to point out is when it comes to in the church, I see this a lot. And this is a little bit different from, I guess it's the same when it comes to dating apps. We kind of swipe right on everyone who we find attractive. In the church setting, we swipe right by becoming piranhas because there's this new girl in town or there's this new guy at the church. Please avoid that. No newcomer wants to be bombarded by your gratification for how they look. It's just, you're not going to win them over. I see it time and time again, especially with a church who has very limited women, for instance. And there's a lot of guys and there's a new girl in town. 90% of the guys are going to flock after that girl. And it's just pointless because odds are she's not going to pick any of y'all. So just back it up a little bit. Give the new girl some time to settle in. Give the new guy some time to settle in. And don't be piranhas. No one likes a piranha. No one likes someone just attacking them because of how they look. And don't look beyond that. So that's just my little tidbit on dating apps, dating in the church, etc. So another thing I wanted to point out or hammer in on is communication. And it's very, very vital in dating a relationship. So what you want to improve on is your communication skills to avoid misunderstandings and misinterpretations. That is something my husband and I worked on heavily when we were dating. We actually went to counseling, like a premarital version of counseling, but dating counseling. And we hammered in on communication because that was one of the biggest things. And a lot of it had to do with our cultural differences. So in the Belizean culture, we view certain things a certain way. The way we communicate, a lot of it is indirect, or you should already know what I'm thinking. And in the American culture, at least for Jared, it's very black and white, and which is odd because I'm a black and white person. But for him, it was very difficult. Well, I'd say for both of us, it was very difficult because I would say something that meant something. He would say something that meant something entirely different. He gets offended, I get offended, and we're just butthurt. So communication is the cornerstone for a successful relationship. You have to actively be listening and listen and learn to listen based on that person's upbringing, because their upbringing has a lot to do with how they communicate, what they mean. And that's not saying you need to be a detective and read between the lines, but if it's someone that you actually want to spend the rest of your life with, which they should be if you're dating, then you should give your full attention. You should try your best to be empathetic. You should try your best to understand and seek their perspective. Does that mean you guys will agree eye to eye every single time? Probably not, because my husband and I, we're both strong-headed people. We have very strong beliefs in certain things. For the most part, we believe the same. For the most part, but there are certain things where we kind of butt heads, and we'll go at it, we'll debate, we'll say why we believe what we believe. But at the end of the day, we're still respectful in our communication. We're still respectful in our differences of opinion. So that's another key thing. Communication, so important in dating well. If you're not communicating, if you're not being honest and sharing your thoughts and opinions and, being kind about it, you're not going to have a successful relationship. You're not going to date well. It's going to end horribly. Another thing I wanted to point out, which might be hard for some of y'all, and that is rejection. And I'll talk about rejection in terms of breaking up, but rejection in a dating well relationship, rejection will happen. They will reject that they don't want to eat at Chick-fil-A the 5th time this week. That has nothing to do with your worth or your your desire for food or your palate. That has nothing to do with it. They probably just don't want Chick-fil-A 5 times in a row. Rejection is normal, and it comes with dating. It comes with relationship. It comes with marriage. There are certain types of healthy rejection we should be okay with. Rejection of, hey, I really don't want to go to that party tonight. Or I really don't want to go to that gathering. Or I really don't, whatever it may be. If it's communicated well and it's healthy and it's not a common thing where they just want to be a recluse and they don't want to go anywhere, then that's a whole issue on its own. But understand that rejection is normal in relationships, and you have to deal with it gracefully. No relationship is perfect, and it will happen. Now, when it comes to rejection in terms of the relationship, falling apart, or, you initiated something with a girl or a guy and, you ask them out and they reject you, that is hard. And my husband can speak on this quite a bit. He always tells me, Vashti, guys get rejected a lot more than girls do. And I was thinking about, this episode and trying to figure out, have I ever been rejected by a guy? And for the longest, I was like, no, I've never been rejected, but also I've never really dated around or anything. I have told guys no, and I had to be very firm about it because I have brothers. I don't want girls to be playing games with my brothers, so that's the way I look at it. And granted, they're all married now, so don't even bother. But at the time when I was dating, I just politely said, hey, I'm not interested. And there were 2 specific guys that treated me harshly after I rejected them. And I did it gracefully. I did it very kind. I wasn't, it's, you're not worth it. It had nothing to do with their worth. I was genuinely not interested. I wasn't in the mind or the frame of mind for dating. That wasn't what I was aspiring to do. And then once I met Jared, I was just sold. This is it. He's the one. I know it. I felt it in my heart. The Lord spoke it through different individuals, and I got confirmation after confirmation. But, rejection is hard, and I saw it in specifically those 2 guys' face and the way they treated me after. I will say one of them, about a year and a half later, he came and apologized, and he was very honest and said, I'm sorry for how I treated you. I treated you like a jerk. You did not, you do not deserve to be treated like that. And you were respectful in telling me no. And I tried my best to not lead anyone on. I tried not to be a flirt. I hate the flirtatious attitude anyways. But those are 2 instances where I did the rejection. Now, let's get into some tea here. I have been rejected by a guy, and I think it's only one guy. If I'm positive, it took me a while to remember this, and I think I kind of suppressed it for a really long time. But I won't get into too much details. I'll try not to because it's long gone. It's been a hot minute since that happened. But before I met Jared, there was this guy that I was attracted to, and my mom especially loved him, and a lot of it had to do with he's in ministry and he's on the platform, and that. Also, that sounds really bad. My mom's phenomenal, but she meant well. She wanted me to marry someone that obviously was sold out for the Lord, gung-ho for ministry and all that, which my husband thankfully is in that too, or is that as well. And he has a heart that is bigger than the ocean. But this guy I was attracted to, a lot of it had to do with, my parents' opinions. My brothers were friends with him and all that. And long story short, my dad told him, no, absolutely not. You're not dating my daughter. And I didn't know that until after the fact. But I went overseas for a couple months. I did an internship in Egypt. And before I left, granted, this guy and I never dated. We never talked about dating. But I liked him. I thought he liked me. And, I went to Egypt. And this entire time I was like, oh, I bet, when I come back, it'll be time to date, or maybe he'll ask me out, et cetera, et cetera. I come back 6 months later and the homeboy is dating another girl. When I tell you the amount of rejection that I went through, was beyond me. I didn't even realize that I had so much attached to this friendship that I had made. And it took me a couple months, maybe a year, to fully just walk through it and submit it to the Lord. And it just showed that emotionally I had invested in this friendship, that I had this hope that, oh, we will probably date someday. And I'm glad it never worked out. I'm glad it never led to dating. I'm glad it just stayed as a friendship. But that's just a testament to show how detrimental a rejection can be. However, we have to give ourselves grace. We have to give ourselves some leniency. Rejection will happen. And it's hard. You walk through it. You pick yourself back up and you say, Lord, I know you have your hands over my life. I know you have my spouse assigned for me. Give me peace as I wait. So, it happens. I don't know if it happens to everyone, but I did account at least one. It happened to me. And, we weren't dating. We were friends. And I was just very hopeful that he would ask me out. But thankfully, I married the best husband in the entire world. He's phenomenal. And he's exactly who I needed. And I'll get a little bit more into that when I talk about dating, tips to dating well. But the last thing I want to hammer in on is independence and interdependence. So you have to find a balance between having independence and interdependence in a relationship. I see this time and time again. A girl and a guy start dating. The girl suddenly has no aspirations, no goals, no dreams, just following the guy around like a puppy, no longer doing what the Lord has called him to do. I beg you, don't do that. That's the worst thing you can possibly do. If the Lord has called you into a specific ministry, if he has called you for a specific plan, keep doing that. Keep walking that out. If you enjoy working out before you start dating this guy, but this guy doesn't like working out and he just wants to sit and watch movies, keep working out. Don't let him drag you down. Don't let him change you into someone you don't want to be. Vice versa. Now, I will say working out is very important. So if your significant other is encouraging you to do so, you probably should at least try. But have your independence. Have your thing. One of the best things my husband and I did while we were dating is we had our own ministries we were a part of. I was young adults. He was youth. He also helped out in the young adults, but he was also on security and greeting, and I was on worship. So we didn't quit where the Lord has placed us. We didn't withdraw ourselves from where the Lord had placed us because we were dating. What that does, if you start withdrawing and seclude yourself, is you start acting like a married couple before the marriage license is even in play. So have your independence. It's crucial to maintain a sense of self-awareness and independence while being open to interdependence within the relationship. And interdependence is relying on each other, joining each other on what they enjoy doing. But I beg you, my main emphasis on this is just don't fall trap into becoming engulfed by your significant other's wants and needs, because you're going to forget about yourself. And you is important. You is absolutely important. Now, we're going to transition into some dating tips in order to date well. And like I said, I'm no expert here, but these are just things that I have found that has helped significantly in my husband and I's relationship. And yes, I haven't dated, but a lot or around or anything like that. My husband is my one and done, will forever be my one and done. But I will say I've been on dates without knowing I was on dates. That's a topic for another time. And my husband likes to tease me about that, but we'll have an episode with him and he'll share all the dirt. But the first tip, be yourself. Embrace your authenticity and be genuine when dating. Don't try to be someone you're not to impress others. Don't be fake. Please don't. You're gonna get caught eventually, and they're gonna see beyond what you're presenting. They're gonna see that you're not being your authentic, genuine self. Don't do that. Be you. Be who God has created you to be. Don't change to impress someone else. Now, if you are changing for the good, if you are changing your habits, if you are improving yourself, then that's fine. But if you're changing to fit into his or her mold, then that's just a recipe for disaster. The second thing is know what you want. Understand your values, interests, and relationship goals. Knowing what you're looking for will help you find someone that's compatible. In other words, do not be unequally yoked with someone. A lot of the times we make compromises and we say, well, he only drinks a little bit. And then you find out he drinks every single day and you're not okay with it. Or he only flirts, with every now and then, and it's just to be funny. Then you find out he's addicted to porn, or she, don't want to be exclusive here, he or she is addicted to porn, masturbation, and all of that flirting stems from an issue with lust. So just know what you want and ask the hard questions, dig deep. Communicate openly. That's number 3. Effective communication is essential in any relationship. Be honest with your feelings, expectations, and boundaries. That is crucial. Again, we touched on communication a little bit earlier, but know what you want. Communicate that. Be gentle about it. Be kind about it. But you have to set your expectations. You have to communicate those. Communicate your boundaries. Otherwise, the other person won't know. My husband and I's expectations in our relationship when we first started dating, I didn't want to hold hands. I didn't want to kiss. He was very gentle and kind. He waited a year to kiss me. He waited, I think, 6 months to a year to hold my hand. So communicate those expectations. And if they don't like it, then maybe they're not the one for you. Another one is listen actively, and that has a lot to do with communication. They both tie in together, but pay attention to their words, their emotions. Active listening. I can't stress that. Active listening is important. A lot of what's on someone's heart comes out of their mouth. So actively listen, and you're going to find out the truth behind that person. I don't necessarily like the term stay positive, but for this, we'll use it. It's number 5. Approach dating with a positive mindset, even if you've had failures in the past. Be optimistic, and maybe positive isn't the right word. Maybe it's be hopeful, or approach it in a hopeful mindset. Especially if you've had failures after failures, rejection after rejection. And I know that is hard. It's easier said than done to be hopeful, but if you are placing your dating era of your life into the Lord's hand, help him to give you hope every time a prospect comes up, every time you get asked out for a date. Ask the Lord to give you a heart of hope, not expectancy or where you get your hopes up, because that's not what you want to do, but a hopeful heart where you walk into that dating room or that dating scene in peace, knowing that, you know what, Lord, this may not be it, but just give me peace as I walk through this. Another thing is take it slow. Don't rush into a serious relationship. Take your time to date and connect. Honestly, I'd say be friends with them first. Don't just immediately start dating again because they're attractive. Get to know them. See how they are around other people. A friend of mine told me the other day, they noticed this girl that they were attracted to. They, in every room that she's in, she flirts. She flirts with everyone. And that just shows what personality she has. Obviously, she's very insecure in herself in the fact that she feels like she needs to flirt with every Tom, Dick, and Harry that's in the room. But it also shows him, you should probably stay away from that girl. And my husband has told him too, stay far away. Don't even bother. She's just going to break your heart. And when it comes to taking it slow, Proverbs 4:23 is very clear on that. Just guard your heart. Don't go all in. Be mindful. Step back for a second. See how they are around other people. Number 7, avoid playing games. Be straightforward and avoid playing mind games. Oh my gosh. A lot of girls especially play stupid mind games. And I know that because I have brothers. I did my best. And if there's ever a person where I played mind games with before I got married, I'm really sorry. I genuinely did my best to be very clear. No, I don't like you. No, I'm not interested. I'm not about it. The whole, I'm sorry, the Lord is just speaking in a different direction for me right now. It is just absolute dog crap. Like, oh, it frustrates me because I have brothers and I see, or I saw time and time again, girls just playing around because they get free coffee, free flowers, free attention. It's so stupid, and it shows the lack of maturity in those women. Maybe men do it too. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I know specifically, or at least from experience, women are primarily the ones that play the stupid games. Why? Because obviously they're insecure in themselves, and they just want the attention. I know I'll get a lot of heat for this, but I'm just very passionate about this. Quit playing games. Quit making guys feel like you like them and you want to date them and you want to marry them, and the list goes on, when you know very well you're not even interested. Number 8, respect differences. Everyone is different. Especially if you're interested in someone from a different culture, understand that they will have their differences. They will have things that they do differently. They will have foods that they eat differently. Something that I really love about my husband is he will try everything about my culture. He will even try to speak Creole, which is pretty comical. So respect differences. Don't place or put pressure on someone to be just like you, because to be honest, I know for me, I don't want to be married to anyone that's just like me. Thank God Jared is different. Now let's talk about prioritize safety. And this specifically goes to those who are especially dating on apps. Whenever you choose to date on an app, choose places that are public. Make sure a friend knows that you're going. Your family members know that you're going to meet up with someone. Don't go by yourself. You don't want to endanger yourself. Prioritize your safety. Your safety is important. You don't know the creepos that are out there. I've had friends who've had very sketchy, blind dates. So just be very, very mindful of your surroundings and let people know. It doesn't all have to be a secret. Let your trusted friend know, hey, I found someone on a dating app. They asked me out. This is my location. If you don't hear from me by, this time, please check up on me. Please call the police. Please call my mom, whatever. Just prioritize your safety. That's important. Learn from past experiences. Reflect on the past during dating experiences to identify patterns and learn from both the positive and negative encounters. So your past has a lot to do in helping you gauge what your new relationship will look like. Don't fall trapped into the same cycle over and over. A lot of women who have who stem from hurt, or who haven't healed from hurt and being a victim of whatever type of dating relationship you were in, we tend to find people that are similar to our past. So avoid that. And the best way to avoid that is to seek healing. And I would wager to say you have no right dating if you haven't been healed yet. If you haven't walked through counseling or I don't know what the term is, but if you haven't thoroughly walked through the psyche of why you've dealt with what you've dealt with and why you're holding on to what you're holding on to, it's important to learn from your past and walk through your past in healing in order to truly date well in the present. So number 11, balance independence and togetherness. We already touched on that. Don't forget you. Don't forget your goals and dreams. Build on that, and your significant other, or the person that you're pursuing, y'all should be pursuing your dreams and goals, and somehow it'll lead and connect together. That's at least what I believe. It worked out well for my husband and I. We kept on doing what we knew the Lord had called us to do, and it meshed. It eventually meshed. Manage expectations. Your person that you're dating or will eventually date will not be perfect, just as you are not perfect. No matter how perfect you think you are not. So manage your expectations, be realistic with them, and just understand that they're human. They're going to mess up. You're going to mess up, and be very gentle and kind. And that leads to my 13th point, show kindness and empathy. Treat your date with kindness. Foster positive and respectful dating experiences. Don't let it be, or it shouldn't be, a fight back and forth every single date. You'll have your disagreements. You'll have things that you don't vibe on, but show kindness and empathy. Be a kind person. If you're not kind now, learn how to be kind. Another thing, be patient. That's number 14. We're almost done here. Just bear with me. Finding the right person may take time. Be patient and trust that the right connection will come your way. 1 Corinthians 13 talks all things what love is, and we'll say what dating is. Dating is patient. Dating is kind. Dating is long-suffering, and the list goes on. Be patient. You're not, just because everyone else in your friend group is engaged or married doesn't mean that you need to be engaged or married 2 months into dating this new guy or this new girl. Don't put pressure on yourself just because you're the last one. I was the last one in my friend group to get married or to get engaged and get married. And honestly, I wasn't missing out. Well, let me backtrack. I was missing out because I love marriage and it's the best thing ever. But had I rushed it, Jared and I would not be in the healthy place that we are today. We took our time. We walked through dating. We walked through engagement. And now we have a marriage that I love to boast on because it's the best thing ever. We have our disagreements. We have our moments. But I love marriage. It's so fun. And I highly recommend it to every single person. But don't feel like you are missing out on the next big thing because you're not where everyone else is. Take your time. Be patient. But I'll also couple with that. Be mindful of sexual temptations. In 1 Thessalonians 4, 3-5, it says, "For this is the will of the Lord, your sanctification, that you abstain from sexual immorality, that each of you know how to control his or her body in holiness and honor, not in passion of lust like the Gentiles who do not know God." So if you're listening to this and you know God, be mindful to not take steps too early. That goes with boundaries. Set those boundaries very clear. Set those expectations very clear. You have no right to be sleeping together if you're not married. It's just, I'm telling you, I have friends who have slept together before they got married, and they've emphasized over and over how much they wish they waited because the wedding night wasn't as sacred, and it was just, oh, yeah, we're married. We just got a certificate. My husband and I waited, and the wedding night was awkward. Granted, not to get into too much details, but we didn't even do it. The wedding night, do it if you know what I mean. I think it took 2 months before we actually consummated our marriage, but just wait. Allow yourself to abstain from sexual immorality because it only will bring turmoil. And until you have that wedding paper or that marriage license and you sign off on it, you are not married. There's not a covenant made. Your body is sacred. You're a precious person, whether you're a guy or a girl, you're precious. Treat yourself as if you are worth it. So yeah, I won't get more into that. And number 15, seek wise counseling. I think this is one of the biggest ones. All of them are important. But something Jared and I did is we allowed our friends to critique our significant other. We allowed our friends to point out red flags, our mentors to point out red flags, get to know them. Your friends, your family, your mentors will be able to see what you cannot see. Whenever you're dating, you're like a horse. You have that little blinder on. All you can see is that person. All you can see, your vantage point is just what's right in front of you. Everyone else sees what that person is struggling with. Everyone else sees the do's and don'ts. Everyone else sees the red flag. So seek wise counsel when you're dating and be mindful of who you share things with because you also don't want to share too much to the wrong person, especially someone who talks a lot. Don't fall into that. And the last thing I will share on this topic is to have fun. If you are dating or if you are, entering into the dating scene, have fun with it. It shouldn't be a drag. It shouldn't be miserable. It shouldn't be, a drag. It should be so fun. I love dating my husband. I loved going on dates. I love dressing up, and we still dress up and go on dates. But, we look back at our dating time, and it was just like, oh my gosh, we were kids and we had so much fun. And, we enjoyed dating and we took our time. So yeah, dating well is a journey of growth and connection. You have to stay true to yourself. You have to stay true to who you are. Be kind along the way. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to the other person. Find someone that's compatible. In other words, find someone that is equally yoked, and be mindful of building meaningful connections. It shouldn't be surface level just based on how they look. And yeah, you'll have a successful and fulfilling dating experience, I believe, if you follow these tips and pray and submit it to the Lord. I submitted Jared to the Lord time and time again, and I submitted a relationship, and I asked the Lord to bless it, and he did the same thing. And I cannot emphasize how thankful I am that we both were very mindful when it came to dating. We weren't playing around. We weren't playing games. We were very intentional. So yeah, dating well is hard, but it is possible. And I hope y'all enjoyed today's episode. I will see y'all next time. Yeah.